Hi there, and welcome to Baseball by Design. I'm your host, Paul Caputo, sportslogos.net minor league baseball correspondent. I am so thrilled to be joined right now by my good friend, Erik Mertens. And I feel like I want to say we go way back to 2020.
That's right. Well, it feels like way back.
It feels like way back because, you know, you have this way of engendering this goodwill from people. It's just like you just bring out the absolute like most kind instincts in everybody that you encounter. So it's I already feel like I'm being nicer to everyone around me just by virtue of talking to you today. So
thank you. That means a lot. And it is, the week before Christmas. So
it is. As we're recording this, it is the week before Christmas. I've been having so much fun with this podcast that I've been banking a bunch of interviews, and I'm starting to think like I might need to go daily instead of weekly here because
yes, please.
I don't want this to be June when this drops and you're like, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Any time of year is a good time to be kind to each other. And as you said, engender goodwill. So thank you. And yeah, man, I am a huge fan of you, first of all. But also this podcast, like literally the idea for this podcast, when you announced it on Twitter, if I could design something to listen to every day for like half hour, 45 minutes, whatever it is, this literally would be it. Minor league baseball, logos, fun people, a great host. So thank you for this.
You're doing your kind thing again. You're just being so nice. So I hope everyone listening right now, like I hope their blood pressure is coming down.
Yeah.
I hope they're just feeling good about themselves and about everyone around them, because this is the effect that you have on people. You exude kindness and positivity, and this is why you have become the face of this minor league baseball franchise, which has now been, as we were talking in our sort of pre-game notes here, we were talking about the fact that the Tri City Dust Devils, the big news for them is that they have been promoted to full season. And, it looked early on like the Dust Devils might be on the cutting room floor when the Vogon Destructor fleet was coming through from Major League Baseball. This is a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy joke that I've made a bunch of times about, how Major League Baseball reduced the ranks of affiliated minor league baseball by 40 teams. I've compared them to the Vogon Destructor fleet countless times, and it always just falls like completely flat, either in person or on Twitter. So
well, I appreciate this explanation because I was trying to think of a Star Wars reference you were going for, and it just wasn't clicking.
Yeah,
so
no,
I was way off.
It's the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and the radio show, the books, the movie, it all begins. The whole premise is set up by the Vogon Destructor fleet showing up and destroying Earth. And it turns out 2 Earthlings make it off, before it's destroyed. And Arthur Dent is one of them. This is exactly what I expected to be talking about when I said, let's talk about the Tri City Dust Devils.
Well, you and me, we met when I've been following you for forever, but we officially met when you called me about a story you were doing about the Dust Devils logo. And my favorite memory of that conversation is at the end, after the official interview, you said, I feel like you and I could just like sit down with a beer and talk for hours. And so I apologize to the listeners because that's what I want to do right now. Just shoot the breeze.
And then we were very lucky to have the opportunity to actually sit down and talk for not 1, but 2 baseball games, because we got to see a doubleheader in Missoula, Montana. There were people from all over the United States who came, folks who we know from Twitter and who we know in person. And we had this huge group, and it was really fun. I was on a road trip with my children at the time, and so that was great. And then you were there with your now fiance, Karina.
Yeah, thank you.
And like I said, I hope this drops before she's your wife, Karina.
Me too.
You've been on all the podcasts. I actually think this is the last podcast out there. There's 800,000 podcasts in America, and I think this is the last one that you have not been a guest on. So it
was about time.
Yeah,
thanks for inviting me.
You had $7.99, $9.99, and this is now number 800,000. So, but I think it's the first one, assuming it drops before June or July or whatever. I think it's the first one since you and Karina became engaged, and so
Well, and she's the best. Just yesterday, she's like, I think it's awesome. You're always so humble and kind on Twitter.
Hmm.
What's up with that, man?
That's
Like,
really funny.
yeah.
So I had someone who knows what I look like say that I sounded handsome on a voicemail message. And I'm like, wait a minute, you know what I look like? And it
Is
was like,
this
I
a
sound
compliment?
handsome. I don't know what that means at all. So anyhow, I am thrilled to be talking to you right now. So far, I don't know how far we are into the interview, but it's it's probably a good 10 minutes, and we have not talked about the Dust Devils yet.
Yeah,
So
we got to talk about.
let's talk about the Dust Devils. So it doesn't get cold in Pasco, Washington, I guess. Huh?
It does not.
Yeah.
Like currently, and again, we're recording this in late December. There is currently snow on the ground.
Oh, okay. All right.
But yeah, one of the reasons why I'm so grateful, I really am grateful that the Dust Devils kind of survived the affiliation shakeup.
Yeah.
With an affiliation, is that out of all the teams in the Northwest, the Tri-Cities region, we're in a desert, and we literally can play baseball almost year round.
Yeah.
So we are warmer than most parts of the region. Yeah.
The weather obviously has so much to do with the brand itself. The brand itself, I mean, just for the uninitiated, I don't know how anyone who knows this podcast could not know what the Tri-City Dust Devils logo looks like at this point. But it's basically like a little dust storm, an anthropomorphized dust storm. He's got this sort of, mischievous glint in his eye. He's got sort of a furrowed brow, and he's got a little smile, but it's not a friendly smile.
Yeah, a smirk.
And he's smirking for sure. And then sort of around the base there, he has what I have come to realize since I first was introduced to this logo. I think those are the Shang-Chi rings.
Yeah, I heard that on I heard that on a podcast you were on. Yeah, and I just watched that movie for the first time last week.
It was a fun movie. I like that movie.
100% what that is.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyhow, appropriate to the region. And one of the things you told me when we talked for the sportslogos.net article was an amazing stat regarding rainouts and the Tri-City Dust Devils.
Yeah. So we're moving into our 22nd year of existence. And of course, with the canceled 2020 season, I guess that means our 21st season coming up here.
Okay. All right.
And throughout that whole time, we have had one rainout. And it was a freak, like one of those summer thunderstorms that just dumps and then moves on. But the dump, if you will, was so big. They're like, we can't do this. But we've had multiple dust outs where we will get these huge dust storms. Sometimes they're like the haboobs, like you would see down in the Southwest.
Yeah.
That just kind of come and take over the town. And other times it's just blowing dust, blowing wind. It gets very windy here. And so I would say we've had about a dozen of those over the past 21 years.
Amazing.
But, only one rain out. Yeah.
That I just love that stat so much, because my favorite thing about minor league baseball logos is that they are hyper local and hyper appropriate to the local community, the local geography. Can you comment too on the colors in the logos, the dark blue and the tan, basically?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Thanks for asking. So I remember when I was a senior in high school when the team moved from Portland, Oregon to the Tri-Cities. And I was so excited. I think that's why I will do anything for this team. I just moved back to the Tri-Cities full time because, like you mentioned, we've been promoted to a longer season. We used to be short season, and now we're long season. So I absolutely love this team. I love this community. And when they were coming out with the team's name and the colors and the logo, I remember, like, this was in 2001, and they were announcing it through the local newspaper. That's how, that's kind of how everything came out. And I think I still have a copy of this, but there was an article written like, what were the names? There was a name the team contest, but as we know, those are sometimes iffy at best, or,
Yes.
In fact, I think kind of some fun trivia, the number one name vote getter was the Rattlers, the Tri-City Rattlers.
Okay.
Because we have a lot of rattlesnakes around here too.
All right.
But, Wisconsin already had the Timber Rattlers.
Sure.
And so that wasn't the go.
Yeah.
And then I think the Dust Devils were the second place. But I love it because no one else kind of has this moniker or this image. And so when they put the colors together, I remember reading this too. And you and I were talking earlier. I actually had an email conversation with the designer of this logo back in 2005.
Okay. Okay.
And for the life of me, I cannot find those emails. I forget his name.
No.
I know, it was so bad. So I'm going to have to do another deep dive.
Hi, everyone. It's your host, Paul, checking in from the future. I just wanted to interrupt for just a moment and let you know that after Erik and I talked, he went back and checked for the name of this designer because he wanted to make sure that they got credit because he's a good guy like that, right? He did find that it is the Portland, Oregon-based design firm called Sockeye, and he noted that they were the same firm that did the old Portland Beavers logo, which is a great one. So I'm going to send you back to the interview with Erik, but I wanted you to know he went and looked that up, and he wanted you to know that it was the Portland-based Sockeye design firm. All right, back to the show.
Originally, the colors were going to be purple and this khaki kind of tan color that we have.
Sure.
And purple because we were still a Rockies affiliate at the time.
Yeah.
They were the Portland Rockies that moved to the Tri Cities. So they wanted to keep purple in there somewhere. And also, each of the three Tri Cities has its own color that has historically kind of represented their high schools. And I'm from Kennewick, one of the three cities. And so orange was Kennewick High's color, is Kennewick High's color. And
sure.
And now there are, many more high schools in the region than these first original three, but Pasco's city color is purple. So if you ever look at the city of Pasco website or the school district, it's purple. But for some reason they changed to navy blue instead of purple, which I think is much more appropriate. Number one, all three cities can kind of rally around it rather than it just being kind of designated for one of them.
Yeah.
And then also, like you and I talked about a while ago, when you drive through the Tri-Cities, I personally love it. It's like this high desert region, beautiful sunsets. The Columbia River is this gorgeous geographic feature that comes through. We're kind of like a little mini oasis in this desert, rolling desert hills. The main colors you see are blue and khaki tan. The hills are desert hills, and so they're kind of a brown khaki color. And then the Columbia is a deep, deep blue, and the sky is a bright blue, of course. So blue and tan are kind of the two main colors you see when you're driving through town.
I love this because there's these websites where you can upload a photo and it'll pick a color palette for you based on the colors in that photo, right? Yeah, they're super cool. Yeah, this is some design nerdery stuff. I mean, I figured Todd Radom and I were talking about typography and ligatures and justification of type. So you and I can talk about
I don't know what any of that means, but I love color. So
we got into some real design nerdery, Todd and I did. So there are these websites, right, where you can take a photo, you upload it, and you click a button, and it'll generate a color palette for you. And it's super cool. And I can totally picture one of these websites right now where you just a photo of this landscape that you're describing, upload it to one of these websites, and I can just picture them saying, okay, here, and it comes up with the Dust Devils color palette, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm a huge fan of minor league logos and especially of color schemes. I could talk for days about my favorites. And in fact, I have all of my 400 minor league hats stacked to the left of me here in my mom's house. They're not on the wall, but I've always thought, and I think in the next number of years, this conversation might go somewhere. But if we were to update the Dust Devils logo, if we were to, if I, was like general manager for a day and I got to create my own thing, I would add a bright color, because navy and khaki are a cool color scheme.
Sure.
And it's kind of classic, and I think it's iconic to our area. But one final thing, when you drive through the Tri-Cities, especially during sunset, there are these neon pinks, these like electric purples, these vibrant oranges that just pop. And we have the most beautiful sunsets here. And I was always thinking, man, can we just throw in like an accent of orange or pink or purple? So because if you Google Tri-Cities Washington sunset, or even if you just Google Tri-Cities Washington, you will get these photos of probably the Columbia River with a beautiful sunset.
I'm doing it right now.
Are you doing it right now?
I'm doing it
And
right now.
Okay. You'll also get a lot of green for all of our vineyards and orchards around here.
That's right. That's right. Well, okay. So you brought up the vineyards and orchards, and that gives me the in here. There's a number. I have like a long list of things I want to talk about here. So
okay. I'm going to stop talking so you can get to them.
No, the whole point of this is that you're supposed to be talking.
I'm derailing the whole plan.
Not in the least, not at all. No, because I asked you about the colors, and because your take on the colors and your take on, you know, why they exist the way they do is so important to this conversation of minor league baseball logos and branding, because I guarantee you, and you know, hey, maybe people might email me and tell me I'm wrong here, but there are no major league baseball teams whose logo colors come from, this is what the sunset looks like here, this is what the landscape looks like here. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, the Diamondbacks, maybe, I don't know.
Maybe.
But I just think that is so much more important in minor league branding, is this appropriateness to the local community in every different way. You know, the choice of the nickname, the sort of overall identity system, and that certainly includes the colors. It includes the type. But you mentioned the vineyards when minor league baseball introduced the Copa de la Diversión program.
Yeah.
I wish Karina were here to help me pronounce that.
Yeah, she could help.
I'm aware
that was a good effort. It was a good effort.
I'm aware that I could use the help. So when the Tri Cities Dust Devils unveiled their Copa brand, it was created by Brandios, and it's adorable and it's very popular. It's the Viñeros.
Yeah.
And it's this sort of cartoony guy, this adorable cartoony guy,
Bob the Builder with grapes.
Bob the Vintner.
Yeah.
So he's a great character. He is purple there. I mean, he's not purple, but the brand is purple because I guess of purple grapes, right? But what is the importance of vineyards in the Tri-Cities in Pasco?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked this, because I'm so, you know, I love graphic design, and my passion's graphic design.
You beat me to it.
But I am not good at it. You know, if I could go back and maybe get another major in college, another degree in college, I might look into this, because I'm so interested in it. Everything you just brought up, the colors, the font, all the words I don't know. But so
those are the big ones. You got the big ones.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's all I got. I'm such a geek about it, but I have no skill in it. So when the Copa program, Copa de la Diversión, was brought up,
you did better than I did.
Well,
but you're engaged to a Spanish speaker, so
that's right. Yes. Well, two things came up. First, the Tri-Cities has a huge Latino population, huge. And so I grew up kind of speaking Spanish, very poorly, by the way, but many stores in the Tri-Cities and different parts of the three cities, Spanish is more prominent than English. And we're known to have the best taco trucks and the most taco trucks in the Northwest. What
does Fresno, California have to say about this? The Fresno tacos. Yeah,
I know. Well, they're not in the Northwest, so we'll.
Oh, good point.
We'll let them have it. Yeah.
Okay.
So we were really excited to be part of the Copa program, because we were a great fit for it. The Tri-Cities really celebrates its Latino and Spanish speaking community and population here. And also I had all these fun ideas, personal ideas for like what we could be called, but they were also campy and like gimmicky. Right. I'm so glad that they got shot down. Like mine, this is so stupid. I'm embarrassed for myself. I thought it'd be great. Like Tres Leches is like a dessert, a Mexican dessert, right?
Absolutely.
And I thought, how cool would it be? We're the Tri-Cities. What if we were the Tri City Tres Leches?
It's kind of great. It's
right?
kind of
like,
perfect.
Yeah.
That's not terrible at all.
Thank you.
That's genuinely brilliant. Actually, I really like that very much. Now,
yeah.
That's not to say that couldn't be used as one of these food-based identities, right?
Ooh,
like it doesn't have to be a Copa one. That's you heard it here first, folks. That's absolutely. That's really good.
That's Erik the Peanut Guy special right there.
Erik the Peanut Guy special. Let's get into this. Actually, we haven't actually talked about this. You go by Erik the Peanut Guy. You go by It's Erik Mertens is your handle on Twitter. Okay, we're going to start sort of at the absolute basic here, the basic facts. You're a peanut vendor.
Yes, true.
For the Tri City Dust Devils. Now, this story, for those of you who don't know it, really advances. You've been with the Dust Devils since their debut, and you have become sort of the face of the franchise. And I'm saying these things for you because I think you would be too humble to say them yourselves here.
Thanks.
Yourself. So you have become basically the face of the franchise. When I called the team to talk to them, when I said, hey, I'd love to speak with somebody for an article for sportslogos.net. You and I were following each other on Twitter. I had actually already reached out to you at that point. But when I called the team, I spoke with maybe the general manager, the president, I forget who it was. I apologize. But he told me, he's like, okay, I can talk to you for a minute, but talk to Erik Mertens. And I was like, I've already reached out to Erik. But so when it came to, I want to talk to somebody about the history of the team, the logo, the nickname, what the team means in the community, all that sort of thing. He said, talk to Erik.
Oh.
So I said, well, of course, I've already got Erik already lined up. We had never spoken yet at this point. And so, that was a while ago. But you've been with the team since its inception. You're the on-field MC. Do you have any other official titles?
No, I think the two official titles are on-field host.
Okay.
And then peanut vendor.
So
I have some unofficial titles maybe, but I've done a lot of radio spots. I've done some TV commercials.
Sure.
Some print ads. So maybe I'm kind of I'm the de facto model that they have. They're like, well, let's throw Erik's face on this.
Well, so that actually leads me into the next thing, which is, this is something you've spoken about on other podcasts here. The life-size bobblehead that the Dust Devils created of you, which is featured prominently on your social media if people want to see this. And I'll make sure when we drop this episode to get that out there. There is a life-size bobblehead of you at the Dust Devils Stadium. And so, to say you're a peanut vendor is putting it as mildly as possible when you are really, with the exception of the little Dust Devil with the smirk,
Dusty the Dust Devil.
Dusty the Dust Devil. That I should have guessed, and I probably should have looked that up before we talked. But aside from, and maybe parallel to Dusty the Devil, you are the face of this franchise. So I wanted to get into that background just because I think that that's such an important part of why I'm talking to Erik the Peanut Guy about this logo that dates back, so many years. So can you talk just for a moment? Can you explain how it was that you actually got started with the team?
Yeah, no, thanks for asking that. And I apologize. I think we're getting UPS deliveries for Christmas gifts, so. And you're at your parents' house. I'm at my parents' house, and this is really fun.
It's really fun. And when this drops in July, it's not going to make any sense to anybody.
No. Christmas in July, everybody. Come to Geisa Stadium, Tri Cities, Washington. We'll celebrate.
We're gonna be hanging out at a game in Pasco when this actually drops.
We always do a Christmas night special during the season. We have Santa come out. I wear Santa hat. We have elves. We have decorations, and it's 105 degrees.
Yes.
And wearing a wool hat is just I've sweat through so many Santa hats. Okay, to answer your question.
Oh yeah.
That question. Once again, I grew up playing baseball, and I have my parents to thank for that. I didn't really get into baseball until we moved to the Tri-Cities when I was 6 years old. And then that's right when Ken Griffey Jr. was starting with the Mariners. And so we're all huge Mariners fans in our family. And the Tri-Cities, like I mentioned earlier, is probably the one place, or one of the very few places in the Northwest region, that has pretty decent weather and temperature to play baseball. So almost everyone grows up playing baseball here. That might be an exaggeration, but a lot of people do. Most kids pick up a bat or a glove in the Tri-Cities, which is awesome. I would say that we're a huge Mariners fan base that's not in Seattle. We're kind of a regional hub here.
That makes sense.
So baseball was a big part of my life. When we moved to the Tri-Cities in 1989, that was a window when they didn't have a minor league team. There's a long history of minor league ball in the Tri-Cities, but kind of the mid 80s to the mid 90s, there just wasn't anything, which was kind of weird. And that's when I moved here. So we had an independent team here for a few years in the mid 90s. And then the Dust Devils came to town. That's also, I love telling the story. My dad, that was my senior year of high school. My dad was like, you need to get like a job before you go off to college. You need like a real job to make some money. And my best friend at the time, still a good friend of mine, Johnny had signed on to be a peanut vendor with the Dust Devils. And he was Johnny the Peanut Guy. And he said, hey, they need a second peanut vendor. Do you want to come work with me? And I just remembered this fact the other day driving around town. He was trying to help me find like a job other places too. He works, you know, like high schoolers. He had a part-time job here, part-time job with the baseball team. And so I actually applied to other places he worked, but I didn't get any of them. The one I did get was with the Dust Devils. And so he and I were in theater together. We were in choir together. And so we turned our peanut vending into a show. We had songs, we had skits, we both juggled. And so we could do like juggling tricks together. Yeah. And so that's how it started. We sold peanuts, but we also entertained the crowd. And then when the on-field host opening came up, like 2 years after that, like around 2003, Johnny had moved on, and the team asked if I could continue selling peanuts, but also do the on-field duties as well.
And so again, we'll flash forward. You went from basically, you know, being a peanut vendor, doing some on-field hosting, to now there's a bobblehead of you in front of the stadium. How did the bobblehead come about?
I literally think it's because I'm the only employee that stuck around for 22 years. It's just longevity, you know, like we've had some great employees. And this is why I love minor league baseball. A couple years ago, there was about 5 of us who had started on day one. I was the youngest. I was like 17, 18 when I started. Mm-hmm. But we had 2 beer pourers, a husband and wife, dear people. We had our clubhouse attendant and uniform seamstress. And then there was, our security guard. We all started together. Well, unfortunately, 2 of them have passed away. The other 2 kind of retired, but still come to games as fans. And so I'm kind of the last employee from day one, 21 years ago. And you know, I've told people just as a joke, you know, if you work for like some big corporation for 15, 20 years, you might get a nice watch or a nice, like, if you work for a minor league baseball team for 20 years, you get a bobblehead. So that's my only reason.
That feels like a great trade-off to me,
yeah,
right?
I would totally take it. Yeah.
Totally in favor of that.
I can buy my own damn watch. We don't
the funny thing is, like, for, you know, I wish people could see this right now, because, you know, you look like you're maybe like 28 years old, right? And you've worked for this team for like 21 years. So
God bless you. Thank you.
I know from previous conversations that you are, you know, you're not 40 yet, and you've worked for this team for more than 20 years. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Over half my life, which is a big, that for me, the fact that they keep inviting me back, and the fact that I get to do this every summer, is one of the biggest blessings of my life. I mean, we got my family, we got Karina, my fiance, and we got the Dust Devils. And I mean that seriously. The team is such a fun part of our community, but the front office leadership are some of the best people you will ever meet. And so the fact I still get to work with them every year is just a big blessing.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's such a cool story. And minor league baseball really is. I mean, it's at every level just about community, right? And it's, I mean, even watching, and this is something I've commented on previously, watching the Bowling Green Hot Rods response to the tornado disaster that just hit Kentucky and the surrounding areas, and to see them, you know, offering the suites in their stadium to local companies that might need office space, that sort of thing. And to hold this auction where a bunch of other teams donated stuff to raise funds basically for the, for the tornado relief fund. I mean, it's just watching, you know, one of my favorite things about minor league baseball has just been seeing these communities develop around teams. And that's why it was so terrifying to watch what Major League Baseball did to minor league baseball. I mean, it could have been such a disaster.
Oh my gosh. And I can't tell you how much I agree with that. It was more than just, you know, they had their dollars and cents reasons, and they have
Sure.
their business reasons. But those of us in the industry from day one, when like the first news leaked out, and then like the first draft of the cut list leaked out, these are people's not just lives, but I immediately thought of my friends who used to work for the team who've passed away, or the season ticket holders who've been dear friends that I see every summer for 20 years, who are going through a rough time or whatever. And I'm like, this is so much more than just business. And it's so much more than just baseball. These are the heart and soul of communities.
Right.
And thank God that the vast majority of teams who got their affiliation cut are still playing ball. My heart goes out to places like Lancaster, California, and Port Charlotte, Florida. And I will be a huge cheerleader for Boise, Idaho, and Salem, Kaiser, Oregon for the rest of my life, because they were very important parts of our 8-team Northwest League. They both lost their affiliation. They're both still playing ball though. So folks, if you are in Idaho or in Oregon, go support the Boise Hawks and the Salem Kaiser Volcanoes for sure.
Yeah. Well, and that was, to see Boise join the Pioneer League, which was, the road trip that I took this summer when you and I got to meet in person at the Paddleheads doubleheader. That was Pioneer League baseball right there, right?
Yeah.
And that was different from what it has been in the past, because previously it was affiliated baseball, and now it's independent baseball, but it was still amazing, right? It's still great.
Fun.
And so it's a much more difficult road for independent teams, because they have to sign players, and they have to, they're responsible for paying the players. It's their
health insurance, or
all that stuff. It's much more expensive to run an independent team. And so, so it's more difficult for them, and kudos to them for making it work. I have the Northern Colorado Owls are going to be here in Northern Colorado.
I need to go visit you and go to an Owls game with you.
I'll tell you what, I am lining up this guest room here. I've got people coming who are, who want to see some Colorado baseball. And so, I mean, listen, we'll put a name on it. We'll call it the Erik Mertens Suite, right? Like
just for that weekend, though. Please don't.
We're gonna get some logos for it. It's gonna be great.
We could talk about ligature and fonts all day long.
We totally could. Absolutely. My favorite ligature is the Minion Pro FF that combined, where the second F is slightly taller than the first F. It's a beautiful thing. Typography is how I got into graphic design, actually. It's
really?
Page layout and setting type. I actually, when it comes to creating logos, it's actually my least favorite thing to do as a designer, in part because the stakes are so high, right? You're representing so much in one little thing, right? And it's just so difficult to please everybody who has something they want to say about the organization. And the other side of that is kind of like what you're talking about with graphic design. Like, you like graphic design, but you wish you were better at it. And everyone knows when they like something. Everyone knows when they look at something and it appeals to them visually.
Right.
Not everyone can explain why they do or why they don't. Right. So when it comes to logo design, I mean, I've just had so many occasions where, like, I tried to create something, put it out there. I liked it. Like, there was an explanation, there was a connection, there was like all these, it like checked all these boxes, but then you show it to somebody and it's just like, and it's like, there's no overcoming that. There's no explaining that away. Right. Like, so logo design, I mean, I say it's my least favorite thing. When it works, when it goes well, it's my most favorite thing. It's just, it's the most challenging thing in my mind to do in graphic design, which is why I'm fascinated by it. Setting type and page layout and that sort of thing. There's rules for that, right? Like, there's rules for that. And there's, studies about what's more legible and less legible and all that sort of thing. So predictably, we've gone way longer than I normally do on this podcast. I do have one more question for you about the brand. And if I were just to cut this down to just the stuff about the logos and brand, it would probably be about 4 minutes long. So
boring.
we talked about a lot of other stuff that's been great, though. Let me ask you this, though. You guys worked with Brandios.
Yes, I love Brandios. I'm a huge fan.
I am a proponent of Brandios too. I think what they have done for minor league baseball has been great. I have many caps from Brandios. I'm a fan of, I'm
Same.
a fan of certainly other designers who have
Oh
had a
yeah,
similar impact,
for
right? And it's,
sure.
I mean, I don't know any firms out there where I'm like, I wouldn't hire them to do that, right?
Oh
Like,
my gosh, right. They're
so
great, all of them.
and on this podcast, I'll certainly be speaking with Jason Klein from Brandios quite a bit, and also Dan Simon from Studio Simon. Obviously, I've already
Yeah.
spoken with Todd Radum, so I love talking to the designers themselves about this. But you guys worked with Brandios on your Copa brand.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's unfair to say about the Dust Devils brand that while it's appropriate and it's adorable, it's possible it's a little dated.
Mm-hmm.
Could maybe use a refresh.
Mm-hmm.
Has there been any communication, especially now that you have this long-term affiliation?
Mm-hmm.
Has there been any talk about updating that look, or is it sort of the kitsch factor? It's so entrenched now that it would be, that you wouldn't want to lose that.
Great question. And this is what I'm so grateful. I'm living full time in the Tri-Cities now because I'm more a part of these conversations, which I'm grateful for. So, first of all, I don't disagree with anything you said. I love the Dust Devils. I love our brand. I love our community, but it was created, the original brand was created over 20 years ago. And so much has changed since then. Our team has grown. The Tri-Cities continues to grow, like population wise. We've learned so much more about who we are and our identity as a team. So to that, a few things. Keep an eye out on the Dust Devils social media this next year for some fun announcements about maybe not a Dust Devils rebrand, but maybe some fun alternate or other things going on.
The Tres Leches.
Right?
The Tri-Cities Tres Leches are coming.
I wish. My gosh, that'd be my crowning achievement. Yeah. So that keep your eyes out and ears out for maybe some fun announcements this next season, for some things that Brandios might know about. But also the overall conversation of refreshing our brand or renewing our brand as the Tri-City Dust Devils. There are definite conversations. Yes,
okay.
It is not. And I wish I could say more, but again, like I said earlier in this podcast, I would love to add a bright color to our color scheme. I would love to add some things. Now, a few years back, not a lot of people know about this. Brandios did work with us about 10 years ago. This is where our new TC logo came from.
Yes, for sure.
We have some alternate, I think the technical term is roundels.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. With Dusty the Dust Devil swinging a bat.
Yeah.
That the team doesn't use as much, but Brandios has worked with us for some like alternate or secondary logos. But there are definite conversations. Stay tuned if you like good logos, if you like fun updates to branding. Keep your eye on the Dust Devils for the near future.
That is that feels like a real live cliffhanger.
Yeah.
That is a real live cliffhanger right there.
What I was going for.
That's exciting news. Looking forward to following it. And also an excuse for me to get you on the horn again and be like, all right, Erik, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
So that's huge news right there.
Exactly.
Awesome. All right. I did say that was my last question, but I actually have one more last question. Is it, well, more sort of, I just want to, this is a program that the Dust Devils do. It relates to your father. And I think it's such an important thing. And, I know you've talked about it on previous podcasts, but I just wanted to ask you about this sort of amazing thing that the Dust Devils do, because it speaks so much to this notion of community that we've been talking about. So can you talk about this program that your father initiated and that the team is carrying on in his honor?
Yeah. Thanks so much I know I've thanked you for all your questions, but especially this one. My dad is the biggest reason I'm into baseball, and my mom, but my dad is the one that would play catch with me and teach me the game. And he passed away about 4.5 years ago. And yeah, totally changed my life when he passed away suddenly. It was a very sudden thing. And
I'm sorry.
Miss him a lot. Thanks. He would come to Dust Devils games and as a baseball fan, but mostly to support me. He was very, very proud of me, which I feel blessed to know and to say. Um, and he would tell everyone, he's like, have you been to a Dust Devils game? And they're like, yeah. And then my son's the peanut guy. And some people who hadn't been to a Dust Devils game didn't know that I do more than just sell peanuts.
Yeah.
And so some of them like, great, your son's in his 30s and he still has a high school summer job. But he was like, no, like he's the voice of the team, he's the guy. So anyway, when he passed away, the Dust Devils have done a few things to honor him, which again speaks to the amazing people in the front office and our community in general. Number one, when they built that life-size bobblehead, my favorite part of this is they put his initials in the back of it, which I enjoy, obviously being recognized, and it means so much to me. But any way that I could spread my dad's name and my dad's story, his name is Mertens, Edward Paul Mertens. So they put EM on the back of the bobblehead, which is also my initials, but they did it for my dad.
Sure.
But the bigger thing is that my dad would go to Dust Devils games, and it would start off very slowly, but it grew over time where he would buy a little dusty stuffed animal doll or a little squishy baseball or a mini bat. And he would go spend his own money in the team store and then find me during the game. And then he would find a little kid who he wanted to surprise with the gift. And maybe it was a kid who was having a rough day. My dad had a big heart for people with special needs. And so a lot of times it was a kid with special needs or a kid who might have been having, a breakdown or anyway. And my dad would say, there's the kid, section L, row 2, seat 4. And can you go give this to him? And my dad would never deliver the gift himself. He never wanted the attention. And he didn't want to like creep anyone out. He would have me do it. And everyone kind of knows who I am at the game just because I'm on the microphone all the time. So when my dad passed away, the Dust Devils did one thing on their own. And then the fans did one thing on their own. The front office built a little cabinet where they keep stocked with little Dust Devil stuffed animal dolls, with squishy balls, with mini bats, with the kinds of things my dad would donate, or not donate, but my dad would gift to kids. And they put a plaque on that cabinet, and it's the Ed Mertens Dust Devils gift cabinet. And I and other employees of the team, but mostly me, can go if I see a little kid having a rough day, or maybe a kid with special needs, or a brother and sister who are fighting. I'll go get 2 things, and I'll go give them these little gifts. And I will say, yeah, it's from the Dust Devils, but it's also from my dad. And most of them don't know who my dad is or that he passed away, but it's a way to continue his legacy. The other thing, so that it continues to grow. Fans started handing me cash saying, this is for your dad's gift cabinet. And I was like, what? And they're like, well, we want to buy gifts to give to kids. And I had to explain to them, well, the Dust Devils front office donates these little things, so we don't need your money. And they said, no, here. So people would be handing me $20 bills. I've been handed a $100 bill.
Wow.
And I went to Daryl, who's our general manager and vice president, whom you've talked with in the past, I believe. And he said, well, why don't we have Ed's fund of money so that if there's an adult who you want to gift like a bigger item to, like a fitted hat or a jersey or a t-shirt or a nice, more expensive thing from the team store, you can use your employee discount, but also spend this money to gift. So here we are almost 5 years from when my dad passed away, and his story is continuing to grow. People are learning more and more about Ed Mertens, who just would give out of the goodness of his heart at a baseball game. And it's continuing to grow. And hundreds of people, even after my dad's death, have been gifted things because of his generosity.
Such an amazing story. I know that you've talked about it before, and I thought, before you and I talked, I was like, do I ask about this because we're talking about the brand and maybe this is, and I'm so glad that I do, because I think that really is part of the brand for this team. It's part of what makes this team special. And I'm so glad to have gotten to know about the Dust Devils through you and through Twitter, and just, it's because I'll admit, when I first saw the team, I thought, okay, well, they've, it's a team sort of out in this part of the country that I'm not very familiar with. And it's got this sort of dated logo. And, as with all things minor league baseball, the more I learn about it, the more I like it. And the more you just want to support it for being this amazing thing. And so I love that you're a part of it. I love that I've gotten to know about the team through you. And I love that we've had this amazing conversation that is to date the longest one I've had on the podcast.
I win. Thanks. More time with Paul. Yeah.
Erik, this has been so much fun. Where can people find you on social media?
Well, thanks so much for having me, man. And that means the most to know that this idea of community and relationship and like my dad's memory and just these connections, I truly believe that's what the Dust Devils are all about. So to know that other people see it as part of our brand. Yeah, the logo is maybe older than we'd like it to be. You know, there could be changes for the visual brand, but when people think of the Tri-City Dust Devils, I hope they think of that relationship, community, love. So yeah, if people want to, connect with me, please do. I'm most active on Twitter. You can search for Erik the Peanut Guy, and that's Erik with a K. My handle is @it's Erik Mertens. And then I also have a Facebook page, and I have an Instagram page, which I'm not very active on. I mostly post pictures of my hats because I collect my hats. But anyway, Twitter is probably the best way. Yeah.
The next time we talk, we do have to talk about this significant hat collection of yours, because you referenced your 400 hats, and it's, the photos of the hat wall are always amazing. And it's just, you and I don't necessarily agree on the style of hat that we wear, but certainly, I admire your collection immensely. It's really amazing. I mean, even just when we were at that Paddleheads game and you brought out like, okay, I've got these like 7 Paddleheads caps, and I'm like, what in the world? How is this possible?
I have a sickness. When I find a brand that I love, I will just buy all of them. So I have like 24 Asheville Tourist hats. I have so many Paddleheads hats, and I've been inspired by your ice cream helmet collection. So.
Well, I can't wait
for the next episode.
I can't wait until we get to share an ice cream helmet over, and I hope you'll use your influence to make sure that there are ice cream helmets at the Dust Devils games.
I'm trying. You believe it? Yeah.
Purple ones.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that'd be cool. Like, I haven't seen a Copa ice cream helmet yet. Yeah,
I haven't either. Right after we're done with this podcast, I'm going to the Dust Devils front office Christmas party, and I will bring this up.
Which starts now, right? We gotta jump off,
because
because the reason we moved this thing was so that you could get to this Christmas party, which is going to sound funny when this drops on St. Patrick's Day. So Erik, thank you so much. You're one of my favorite people. I love that I've gotten to know you over Twitter and at a baseball game, and now over a couple of really great conversations about the Dust Devils. Thanks for everything that you do. And I can't wait to get together in person again, share a beer, share an ice cream helmet, and watch some baseball.
Thanks, Paul. Right back at you.